Let's welcome to the show Senator John Kennedy. Senator, it's good to see you. You serve on Senate Judiciary, Appropriations, Banking, Budget, and Small Business. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. We have lots to talk about with you. First, this news coming in, your reaction to the House Rules Committee voting yes to formalize the impeachment probe into President Biden. A vote could come tomorrow. That means it looks like they do have the votes to move forward with this. What do you make of all this? It makes it easier for the House to issue and enforce subpoenas.
Liz, I think the American people know two things right now. Number one, President Biden lied to the American people about his son's business and his knowledge of it and involvement in it. Number two, I think the American people know that Hunter Biden is Fredo. He had to have lots of help. The American people are asking themselves questions like, what did Hunter Biden do for the money? It's way past the time to try to claim that he was some sort of expert in Ukrainian natural gas. What did he do for the money? Number two, who helped him? And number three, who did he share the money with? Now, those are fairly simple questions to answer if the White House would be forthcoming, but it has not been forthcoming. And for that reason, the House has decided, I think will decide tomorrow, to open an impeachment inquiry. And the American people are entitled to know the facts, and they're entitled to know whether their president is a crook. I'm not saying President Biden is a crook. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm saying that these are legitimate questions that need to be answered, and an impeachment inquiry will make it easier.
You know, Senator, the issue, too, is can they get the president's personal bank records? Because critics are saying still no links of a quid pro quo between President Biden personally profiting from his family, making at least $24 million, selling government access overseas, a lot of loan money sloshing around, a lot of, at least 24 or so shell companies off the balance sheet. So can they get the Biden bank records? That's what's key.
Well, I think certainly an impeachment inquiry will make it easier. If I were the White House, what I would consider doing if the president has done nothing wrong is calling a press conference and in a systematic way walk the American people through the answers to the questions that I just raised. And then once those questions are answered with the data to support them, this would go away. But for whatever reason, President Biden has chosen not to do that. The questions remain, and I trust that the House is going to get to the bottom of it, and the American people are entitled to know the truth.
We're hearing more and more Senate Republicans are on board with this impeachment probe. Is that true?
Oh, yes. Yes. I don't think that there have been that many Senate Republicans that have been off board. Let me say it again. These are fairly basic questions, and the American people are entitled to know the answer to them. I would want to know the answer even if I were not a senator. And why the president hasn't just stepped up to the plate and answered them, I don't know. But he's got thousands of emails that he hasn't shown the House investigators, the bank records you mentioned. And I don't think this is going away until the White House has access to this information, nor should it, Liz, nor should it.
You know, Senator, so your points are well taken, and we've got this news coming in. The National Archives reportedly saying it will give the House impeachment inquiry 62,000 pages of unredacted emails, including nearly 1,800 emails of then Vice President Biden using fake pseudonyms and fake email addresses during the Obama White House. That's 1,800, nearly 1,800 fake emails. Have you ever seen, you're a student of history, have you ever seen anything like what's going on?
Well, that's all swell, and I appreciate the National Archives doing that. But is that all of them? And who picked it? And if it's not, who picked the ones to give to the House? If they're not turning over all of them, the National Archives is playing games again. And I think that's why the House is going to vote to open an impeachment proceeding.
Have you ever seen anything like this or heard of anything like what you're saying?
I've never seen, well, I've seen people do stupid things. I've seen people do sleazy things like Hunter Biden did. I've never seen a president's son do it to this extent. And again, I mean, I'm not saying this is unprecedented, and I'm not saying that other people haven't done anything, done other things wrong. But step back and look at this from 35,000 feet, Liz. You have all these enemies of the United States, Russia, Ukraine, at one point, not now, but at one point, China. They've given the president's or the vice president's son millions and millions of dollars, knowing full well, as I'll say it again, Hunter Biden is Fredo. They didn't pick him. They didn't get his name off ZipRecruiter. Why did they pick him? What did he do for the money? Who did he share the money with? Who helped him? And those are fair questions, and people need to have the answers.
So now we've got House Oversight Chair James Comer and House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan. They're saying they will hold Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress if Hunter does not show up for a deposition December 13th. That's tomorrow. And now we've got, Special Counsel David Weiss, the grand jury. They indicted Hunter Biden on 9 tax evasion charges. They didn't indict Hunter for violating U.S. foreign lobbying laws. Is this because that paper trail could go straight to the president?
Well, I don't know Mr. Weiss. I can just judge him by his actions. And it appears to me that Mr. Weiss will do the right thing when constantly supervised and cornered like a rat. His initial instinct was to cover all this up. He let some of the criminal violations against Mr. Hunter Biden run out. He originally was going to charge him with some mild misdemeanors. There's just one problem. He got caught. And so now Mr. Weiss has doubled back. I don't know the man. I've just got to judge him by his actions. So I don't think we ought to pin a medal on his chest for doing his job. When he started out as he did with what anybody who has a brain above a single cell organism can see with special treatment.
Senator, let's turn to this. Right now, it's happening right now. The president is holding a joint press conference with Ukraine President Zelensky. It's happening as we speak. Basically, the president went around Congress and gave $200 million to Ukraine for its war against Russia. So that's on top of, and Zelensky wants $61 billion on top of the $111 billion Ukraine has got since Russia invaded. But it appears unlikely that, this whole Ukraine aid will happen because it looks like big pushback by Republicans. They're saying you got to do border security. But Democrats are saying we don't need to do border security. Give Ukraine more money. Your reaction?
The president sent us a bill. It was to protect America's national security. It pertained to the war in Ukraine, the war in Israel, the Chinese conduct in the Indo-Pacific, and the border, because clearly national security now involves the border. We took the president seriously, and we started debating and fashioning a bill dealing with all 4 subjects. Now, all of a sudden, President Biden and some of my Democratic friends have said, no, you can't talk about the border. For 7 weeks, there have been negotiations that have gone nowhere, got nothing done. So here's where we are. The only way the supplemental bill is going to pass is if President Biden stands up in front of God and country in the United States Congress and says, these are the changes I'm willing to make at the border. The border is an open, bleeding wound. 8.4 million people, 4 Nebraskas, have come into America under his watch. He has let them in. We don't have the slightest idea who they are. It is dangerous. It's a violation of the law. The president is going to have to tell us what he's willing to do to stop it. If he will do that, my guess is, and it's meaningful, it's not just lip service, my guess is the Congress will take up his bill. But until he does that, the Congress is not going to take up his bill.
I mean, upon taking office, he did hundreds of executive actions to weaken the border and get rid of Trump's border policies. Senator, let's get your reaction to this. The president caused an uproar today. He said, quote, that Israel is losing support and that he thinks Netanyahu has to change his government, even though it's bipartisan. I mean, Netanyahu is now rejecting the Biden White House post-war plan to let the Palestinian Authority take over Gaza. Senator, you've been urging the president to keep supporting Israel against Hamas terrorists. What do you think of the president now?
I thought I understood President Biden's policy on Israel, but I don't anymore. He started out strong. Now he's gone wobbly. Now his policy, it changes by the day, perhaps by the hour. There's an Alice in Wonderland weirdness to the whole thing. It's like his team has put together their Middle East policy with vodka and darts. I mean, the president's going to either support Israel or he's not. I was relieved when he announced that, look, I'm behind Israel 100%, but then lately he's gone wobbly. We're not going to have peace in the Middle East until we kill every last Hamas soldier. And I'm sorry, but this is just a fact of life. We need to kill them and hurt them the entire time that they're dying. They're terrorists, and we're not going to have peace until we do. And Israel is willing to do that, and I think we ought to let Israel do it. I also think Israel's doing the very best it can to try to minimize casualties by Palestinian citizens. But Hamas is using its own people, the Palestinian, as human shields, and we cannot let Hamas win.
Yeah.
Having said all that, I don't think it matters what I think, Liz, or what the president thinks. I think Israel, they've pushed Israel too far. And I think Israel is going to knock Hamas into a new zip code, and I support that.
You know, Senator Bernie Sanders has also said Hamas does not want peace. That is, it's pointless to talk about a ceasefire because Hamas wants permanent war. Those are direct quotes from Senator Bernie Sanders. So but moving to Iran, how do you want the Biden White House to respond to Iran? Because you've been outspoken on the White House appeasing Iran, giving billions of dollars to Iran. Iran-backed terror groups like Hezbollah. Hezbollah is 5 times bigger than Hamas, has 7 times more rockets. It could quickly escalate a new conflict with Israel. So what's your take on the Biden White House policy on Iran right now?
Well, I think the reason we're having this mess, in part, in the Middle East is the same reason we're having a war in Ukraine, and it's the same reason China is being very aggressive in the Indo-Pacific. China, Iran, Russia are not scared of President Biden and the Biden administration because they sent our enemies all sorts of signals of appeasement. I mean, I could sit here and talk for an hour. And from the president's behavior or misbehavior, Iran, for example, has concluded that they could just push President Biden and America against the wall. Since the war with Hamas started, I think Iranians or Iranian surrogates have fired, I don't know, they've hit our military over probably by now 100 times. And in a few cases, President Biden has allowed our military to fight back, but in most he has said to ignore it. Well, that's easy for him to say. He's not having the missiles shot at him. Look, weakness invites the wolves, and peace through weakness never works. These are hard men we're dealing with. Xi in China, Putin in Russia, the Ayatollah in Iran. They understand one thing, and that's hitting them right between the eyes. And we need to start doing it, in my opinion.
So the president's right now taking tough questions, it looks like, from the press. What concerns you right now about this White House most of all, Senator Kennedy?
Oh, my gosh. Liz, we don't have enough time. Here's what I'm worried about. Things are out of control. I mean, domestically, inflation, people having to sell blood plasma to go to the grocery store. I know it's down, but prices aren't falling. The crime, the border, Internationally, the world's on fire in Ukraine. It's in the Middle East, China. The embers are smoldering in the Indo-Pacific. Things are just, they're just a mess. And, you know, I wish President Biden would just forget about Build Back Better and put things back the way he found them. We're clearly not better off today as Americans. We're not better off than we were 2 years ago. The American people want better, and this administration keeps giving them worse.
Senator John Kennedy, a pleasure to have you on, sir. We hope to have
Thanks,
you back
Liz.
on again soon. It's good to see you.